Morning, everybody. I'm Inspector Don Coleman, Calgary Police Service Major Crime Section. Following a 16-year investigation, the Calgary Police Service has charged a man in the 2001 homicide of Paul HEPHER. On Sunday, March 4th, 2001, police were called to a residence in the 500 block of 19th Avenue Northwest after a man was discovered deceased in the basement suite of the residence. An autopsy confirmed the 50-year-old victim had died as a result of a shooting. The early investigation revealed HEPHER had last been seen alive on the afternoon of Wednesday, February 28, 2001. He was an amateur musician who had no criminal history and led a relatively quiet life. The Forensic Crime Scenes Unit did a thorough examination of the basement suite and identified numerous pieces of forensic evidence that were believed to be relevant to the investigation, however, did not identify any suspects at that time. 3 homicide operations took place since the death of HEPHER in hopes of identifying suspects and obtaining evidence to link suspects at the scene. In early 2014, evidence was obtained and submitted to the lab for further examination. On May 21st, 2014, the RCMP Crime Lab confirmed a match to some of the forensic evidence left at the scene. Although investigators now knew who they were looking for, the suspect could not be found. After 22 months of searching, investigators were able to locate the suspect in Sherwood Park, and the 3rd homicide operation was initiated. Further investigative strategies were used to ensure the case had enough evidence to move forward with charges. Investigators believe that the suspect and victim were known to one another and that the victim was targeted for financial reasons. On Thursday, April 13th, 2017, Terrence Lane Wardale, 61, was charged with second-degree murder. He will appear in court on Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. The Homicide Unit would like to thank the numerous units within the CPS, as well as the many policing partners in Alberta and the RCMP for their assistance in this investigation. And I'll try to answer what questions I can.
What was that new evidence?
The new evidence that pushed the case forward was DNA related.
Was it a case of new evidence or new technology that was examining all of that?
DNA is not a new technology, but it was DNA related. So there was a large suspect list of more than a dozen people over the course of the 16 years, and it took time to work through and confirm or eliminate those suspects. Ultimately, in this case, DNA played a huge role.
What was the suspect doing in these 16 years? Was he involved in criminal activity? Was there some sort of event that led to a DNA match?
No, I believe he led a relatively low-profile, quiet life as well.
Do you know how they knew each other? Were they living together?
No, they were acquaintances, loose associates.
So if you recovered DNA evidence from the scene but were able to match it to the accused, you obviously have a sample of his DNA recently. How did you acquire that? Was he convicted of another crime where you had to give a sample of his DNA?
He was not. So over the course of the 16 years and the multiple operations, there was several investigative strategies utilized to move the case forward and ultimately obtain the DNA, but it wasn't a matter of a database match.
So you obtained the DNA specifically related to this investigation?
Correctly.
In 2014 or
Yes. Yeah.
So did he voluntarily give you the DNA?
How do you mean?
Did the suspect offer you
No.
a sample of his DNA,
No.
or did you acquire
No.
it by some subterfuge?
He did not. So like I said, there was several investigative strategies utilized along the way to confirm and eliminate more than a dozen suspects, but the exact specifics of that I obviously can't get into.
So was he originally identified as a suspect?
I don't believe originally, no.
I know you don't like to talk about specifics, but would it be in the nature of like an undercover type operation where somebody befriended him or something like that? Is that the type of investigative action that you guys took?
Well, like I have said, the specifics of the multiple investigative strategies that were utilized, I can't get into, and that's for court, and it will be disclosed in court, all the investigative strategies, and there were several, but I can't disclose the specifics of that.
In Sherwood Park is where he was arrested. Did that require assistance from their police force or anything like that?
We had, as I'd indicated, assistance from several agencies in the province. Sherwood Park RCMP would be one of those over the span of the last while.
Have you spoke to HEPHER's family, and do you know what their reaction is to this arrest?
I believe investigators have spoke to the victim's brother, who is, from what I understand, the lone living relative, and he has taken a lot of comfort in the fact that his brother's murder could be successfully concluded.
I think you kind of touched around the edge of this, but the obvious question for, I think, most people will be, why did this take so long?
Well, there's several reasons that an investigation can take a long time, and the majority of it is evidence-based. Lack of witness information, lack of physical evidence makes for lots of challenges in an investigation. And in any investigation, there's very little that works in favor of the police. They're very arduous, very intense, and long investigations, and there's lots to do. And like I said, in this case, there was over a dozen suspects worked on, confirmed, and eliminated, so it takes time. A homicide file is never truly closed, and they always remain active, and at various points over the lifespan of that investigation, new information may come to light that allows you to move that file forward.
Did you recover the weapon?
Yes, we did.
At the time of arrest or
No,
previous?
no. So we recovered the weapon that was used 16 years ago in the last week.
Sorry, just to be absolutely specific, there were no suspects at the time of the incident. Now you're saying there were over a dozen suspects. Was that all in 2014, or when did
No,
that change?
there was some suspects at the time that were investigated and eliminated, and the suspect list grows as an investigation unfolds and moves forward. So over the span of the 16 years, at various times there was suspects eliminated or new suspects come to light. So over the span of the 16 years, more than a dozen suspects.
Is the weapon that was recovered part of the evidence that was used to lay charges?
No.
How delicate of an operation? I mean, this 22 months ago, you knew the person and couldn't find them. How delicate is it going into that circumstance where you now know them, you know where they are, you need to make the arrest, but is there a fear that they might jet again? Like how did you guys approach that?
Yeah, so any of these files that, I think this one is 16 years, it took to get to the point we're at today, so there's always that risk of setting the investigation back, or for whatever reason the suspect may take flight or continue if they're of transient nature to move to a new location, and which could set the investigation back at any time, so it's definitely a concern.
Was the suspect surprised when he was arrested?
I would imagine so, yes. It's also, I mean, in fairness to Mr. Wardale, he's been carrying this for 16 years himself too, so that's a huge burden.
Was the weapon used to seize the long gun?
No, it was not
Was it
a long gun.
pistol?
I'm not sure specifically if it was a pistol or not, but I believe it was a handgun. But I don't know if it was a pistol or a revolver or what it was.
And it doesn't specify in our previous stories, but it says a basement suite. Was it HEPHER's basement? Was
Yeah.
that his home?
Yeah, he was killed in his own home.
And so you're saying that you had DNA evidence at the original crime scene? And
Yes.
so when did this fellow become a suspect?
Specifically, I don't know the exact date but over the course of the investigation in the last several years, his name came forward.
So it's kind of like people you'd have a suspect and then their DNA would match or something.
Yeah, like generally speaking, you you can obtain a DNA sample at a crime scene, but you don't know who that belongs to. You can submit it to a database and you may get a hit. If that DNA is not in the database, then you don't. So you have a DNA profile, then you have no idea who that's for. So just because you have DNA doesn't always move a file forward at the onset.
Was the link made by another investigation into Mr. Wardell? Was he known to police for anything else?
No. This is a credit to the investigators in the homicide unit. Quite honestly, they work on these files every day, every week, every month, and it's just due to diligence. Quite honestly, that was able to move the file forward.
Does this file,
Can you just speak to the tenacity of investigators? I mean, it's got to be boring, and yet you got to still be professional and continue to be aggressive in your pursuit.
Yeah, well, we have world-class investigators in Calgary, in the Calgary Police Service, throughout the service, and they work diligently every day on the workload's immense. Lots of work, limited resources, so they work every day at these files. It can be frustrating at times because it's hard to move them forward, but in this case, diligence and hard work on behalf of the investigators and the investigative team, the larger investigative team, proved successful in this case.
the investigators who were on this file, how long did they have this file? Does it pass from a group to a group, or?
Well, the files sit within the homicide section, and then investigators come and go from the homicide section. However, the section itself maintains continuity of files that we would deem active and cold case files.
Was this technically a cold case file?
It's deemed a cold case file by nature of the time frame, but active. Like, no files are ever closed.
Give me a sense of what it's like for the officers when they, after 16 years, they make an arrest. Is it relief, elation? You know, they pat each other in the back afterwards? Like, what's their...
Well, I think there's, from my experience, what I see is there's definitely a degree of satisfaction, but that satisfaction for investigators comes from being able to provide closure to the families. In this case, Mr. HEPHER's family for 16 years didn't know what happened or who did it, and now they do. So I think that's where the satisfaction comes from, is being able to provide closure.
Any questions?
Thank you.